Roll call. John Matthews.
Here.
Terry Bukowski.
Here.
Mark Denny.
Here.
Alex DeMauro.
Here.
Will Smith.
Here.
Rocky Hempel.
Here.
Tom Dials.
Here.
Jeff Spink.
Here.
And I'm present, Steve Rosenthal. All 9 members are present. Do I have approval for last February's or January's minutes? Actually.
Second.
Okay. Wolf made the motion, and
I second.
Tom. Okay. I heard it. I wasn't quite sure who. Had a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from last month. And a second. Any discussion? I believe there was one vote count missing on the last item. Okay, so you've added that to it?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay. Otherwise, that's the only thing I saw on it. Anybody else have any further discussion? Not have a roll call vote. John Matthews?
Yes.
Terry Bukowski?
Yes.
Mark Danny?
Yes.
Alex DeMauro?
Yes.
Will Smith?
Yes.
Rocky Hempel?
Yes.
Tom Dials?
Yes.
Jeff Spinks?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 9-0. Secretary's report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Tonight we have 4 items on the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the regular agenda. 2 items that did continue to the March 10th Planning Commission meeting. I would like to welcome aboard Mr. Josh Dessler, who's going to be a new planner in our office. We'll start seeing his case. And I must sadly report that this will be Darius' final planning commission meeting. And I, for one, am very sad to see him go. He's been wonderful. We need to take position with Kansas City, Missouri, so we wish him the best of luck. And with that, Mr. Smith, I turn back over to you. That's all.
We're just breaking even.
David?
We're just breaking even then, huh?
Always. Always.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry to see you leaving, and welcome. You have the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Who moved?
I did.
Rocky. With these masks on, I can't hear so much. And Wolf seconded. Motion on the floor is second to approve the agenda that with 4 cases on the consent agenda. By approving the agenda, they're automatically approved. Any discussion?
I just have one question on the consent agenda. And I don't know if I hadn't noticed this before or not, but on a couple of these, one of the considerations is that they will put fire hydrants in when the infrastructure supports it.
So that is the wording for all of our plats going forward. That has been directed to staff. As you all know, there are times when fire hydrants are available, the water pressure is available. Many, many times it is not. As you also know, we cannot force water districts to update their infrastructure because they are separate entities. So sometimes we get ourselves in a catch-22 when we make a condition that we cannot actually enforce. So at the time of development, if infrastructure is available and the water district agrees to fire hydrants, then the applicant, the developer, will be required to install them.
The water district has to agree to the fire hydrants.
Correct.
It's not a matter if their pipes are big enough, they got to agree.
Right. One, they have to agree. 2, the pipes have to be big enough. And sometimes it's not a matter of just putting in larger pipes. Larger pipes, they don't have the flow, even if they put in larger pipes. So
Normally they would do it, I expect.
Yeah,
Okay, I got
It's
it.
mostly the flow. It's not the
Yeah.
dimension of the pipes. But again, if it's only 2-inch lines, yeah, they can't put them
Yeah,
on.
then they can't do it. I got
Right.
it.
Okay. Any other discussion on the agenda? Not having roll call vote. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Bukowski.
Yes?
Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex DeMauro.
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Tom Dials.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 9-0. Okay, we're on to our first heard item, and it's case number DEV 20-147. Consideration of application for a special use permit for Cool Heat KC, a HVAC repair service located on a tract of land in the southeast quarter of Section 27, Township 11, Range 22 east of the 6 p.m. in Leavenworth County, Kansas. Request submitted by Richard Rogers, also known as 15890 Linwood Road. Does require a public hearing. Public comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This is case number DEV-20-147. This is a special use request for an HVAC repair business. This business is already in operation. Our office received several complaints regarding the storage of HVAC units out on the driveway. There's not currently a building for those to be housed in, which is how we came to know about this. We approached the applicant in August, I believe, of last year, stating that we were going to need to take this forward with a special use permit request. No activities no repairs or anything take place on the site. The items that are there are items that are being recycled and need to be disposed of. All repairs take place off-site. No employees come to the site. There are no hours of operation. Again, nothing takes place on-site except for the storage of the materials, which is why this needs a special use permit. Staff has made a very strong recommendation that a building must be built and the items need to be stored within the building. We don't think it's acceptable at all for these items to be stored on the driveway. This is located at the corner of 158th and K32, as you can certainly see. There is a convenience store located near there. That's kind of a business area. Across the street is Performance Glass. It's not as if this is a completely residential area. However, there is substantial residential in the area, which again is part of the reason for staff's very strong recommendation. Staff does recommend approval of this, subject to that building being built. Furthermore, staff recommends that this only have a 1-year approval for the applicant to build the building. If the applicant refuses to build the building within that year, staff's recommendation is very strong that it not be renewed. The applicant is here and will answer any questions you may have as well.
Okay.
Just a question, Crystal. Subject to or contingent upon?
Both.
Okay, so the building must be up.
Yeah, they've got to. They have stated that they plan to build a building. I believe that, in my opinion, as soon as if this gets approved by the Board of County Commissioners and by this Planning Commission, that the applicant needs to immediately apply for a building permit and begin as soon as the weather lets up.
Yeah, that was my question. You're giving them a year to build something. Their neighbors are sitting there looking at junk in their front yard. I think a year is too long for to allow them to do that, can't it?
As always, staff is open to amendments to the condition. I set it at a year. Obviously, it's February right now. There's not just a whole lot of building going on. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get a contractor lined up and such. I would certainly hope that it would be less than a year. Absolutely. However, I didn't want to put such a restriction on that it couldn't be met. So.
But that means the neighbors have up to a year that they got to look at that mess.
Correct.
And I would, if it was my neighborhood, I wouldn't want to look at someone's stuff like that for a year.
I agree.
But I think maybe we ought to look at a lesser time frame.
We can't give permit for lesser time.
Any other questions of staff before we go on? There you go. Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. Also, remember you're limited to 3 minutes per person. Will the applicant please come forward? Please state your name and address.
I'm Richard Rogers, 15890 Linwood Road.
Okay. Did you have anything to add?
No, that's what we're just, right now, it just depends on sheet metal and that sort of stuff for the building materials. I know everything's behind, but we need to get the permit pulled and all that good stuff, so get it rolling.
Can you put the requirements up?
my computer works slightly quicker.
Or
Yes.
just slow motion right now. Hit escape again. There you go.
Okay, there's 7 requirements there. Staff recommendations. Have you read them all?
Yeah, I have. It's been a while.
Okay, anything, agree with everything on there?
Yes.
Okay. You are planning on building the barn, but as soon as you can, I guess, as soon as you get material?
Correct. Yeah.
All right, any questions of the applicant?
Just one. This was submitted 3 months ago, so you're already 3 months into your year. You heard my comments. I understand that you are trying to get that up as soon as possible.
Okay. What was your question?
Okay. I understand that you are trying to get that up as soon as possible,
Yes.
because you're 3 months into your year right now.
Okay.
Okay.
What's the question?
Well,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be technically true, though.
Yeah, I've never heard
Right.
a question, but it's a 3 month, I mean, the year doesn't start till it's approved, right?
Right.
Typically,
Yeah.
that year begins from the date that it's approved by the Board of County.
Yeah, by the county commissioners, not even by us.
Oh, okay. I thought it read that from the date of submission.
No. No.
Okay, that's it. I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Any other questions of the applicant? Sir, do you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this request? Come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jeff Storms. I'm at 15960 Linwood Road, Bonner Springs. So we're just 2 properties to the west. Okay. And I first want to just open by saying it's a very awkward situation because I know Rogers, we know each other, we're neighbors. And by no means want to cause any hard feelings. And I mean, in the future, I might need a special permit. So I know there's a lot of grace to be happy, to be here. You have to have grace and not be judging and everything. But I have called to ask about it just to know what the rules are, and I know others have. And it has been several months. So my feeling is just due to the air conditioning units being there for quite some time, several months. I mean, I think there's plenty of time for a better solution. I'm against it under the current conditions. I think there could be other solutions. There could be a temporary fence put around it, would go miles, to making it look more, better, or anything that would be a barrier, grasses or whatever. It wouldn't take a whole lot. I think if there were an accountability process of some kind that could be created that could ensure the property is maintained, then I could see it working. Or the barn. If a barn could be built, that would be great. I just know, I've heard, I have friends who don't even live in the neighborhood who have, asked about it. We have other special permits right around our house, which are maintained and preserve the residential neighborhood, which I know there's some commercial, but it's largely residential. A lot of homes there, and we want to preserve that. I know there's Crosby Plumbing is a large business, and you don't even know it's there. And one other I know for sure. So So I'm not saying I'm flat out opposed, but I do have major concerns, and maybe there's a better solution. Make it look better.
Well, you did see number 2, second requirement says that he has to build a building, right?
Yes, and I was here for
Accessory
that
building,
conversation.
where he's going to store that in, yeah.
Yes, that would be perfect.
Yeah, well, that's what, one of our requirements is on the list. If we approve it that way, that's one of the requirements.
That would be acceptable.
Okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this request? In opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented?
Not at this time.
The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? Or I'll entertain a motion.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Crystal, this is the first special use permit I can recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, where we have required a building to be. We've required screening lots of time. And we've done, businesses such as this gentleman's before in the past where it's a contractor's yard or whatever, and we've required screening. Like the neighbor mentioned, some fencing, trees, shrubbery, that type of thing. Why? It just seems to me why are we going from screening to a building in this case?
So for a couple of reasons. One, as we talk about often, each application is different. This is on a parcel that's 2.5 acres. Some of the parcels that you're talking about for others are on 40 or 80 acres. So if it's in the middle of a 40-acre parcel, that's a little bit different than when it's sitting right on your driveway 105 feet from the road, right? Secondarily, we often find, as I believe you all know, that screening does not get maintained. Trees take a very long time to grow. That's oftentimes not a very good way to go about screening. And fencing doesn't get maintained, and fencing becomes an eyesore in and of itself. Furthermore, this applicant had stated that his intention was to build a building. And then also, just from past SUPs that we've had come through in the last year or so that have been fairly contentious, this has been something that the Board of County Commissioners has asked about. And so staff has taken that direction. And certainly on this one, like I said, each one is different. If this were an 80-acre parcel, the recommendation may be different depending upon where it was located. However, but for this, I think that a building is appropriate.
And we're not putting any specifications on the building as far as size goes?
No.
Okay.
No.
So what would stop him from putting up a 10 by 10 utility shed?
All of the items need to be stored in the building. So he
Okay.
needs to build a building that is large enough to store his business items.
Build whatever he can get a permit for, as long as he puts everything in there. That's all that we care about.
Yeah, we don't care about the size.
We don't care about size. All we care about is that everything goes in. Any other questions or comments?
I just got one question for Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers, sir, can you get the stuff that's causing the problem moved before that? Go ahead and get it to recycling or something?
It's, right now, it's just the cold weather is slowing down because everything's outside. I do have a young man that's in college right now that every Saturday morning he's coming over and disassembling and recycling every weekend. So that's what we're doing till we get to that point.
I think that's a partial solution to the problem right there. Okay, thanks, sir.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I move that the proposed special use permit as outlined in case DEV 2147 be approved, that the findings on the golden factors are set forth with changes in staff report as adopted by Planning Commission and substantiated by facts, testimony, and evidence presented be adopted by this board, and make the conditions set forth in staff report be made part of this special use permit. I propose 2 changes. One of them is in staff report number 1, or I'll go with number 2 to begin with. I'd like to have that line to read, the applicant shall cause to have and constructed and completed an accessory building for the storage of all business-related equipment. And the second change is in line number 1, that it has to be performed by September 1st. That gives you all summer to build it.
Okay, why don't we leave, my suggestion would be on that, to leave the SPUP limited to a period of 1 year, but said the applicant shall cause to have constructed accessory building for storage and all business-related equipment completed by September of 2021.
Okay.
And leave it for a year so he doesn't have to come back.
Okay, that's fine. My intent is not for him to come back. My intent is to get the building built by September 1st.
Would that be okay with you then?
I would
I'll
be
second
fine with that.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor with a second. To approve, where are we at? Approve case number DEV 20-147, a special use permit for Cool Heat KC, a HVA repair service with staff recommendations, except for changing requirement number 2 to the applicant shall cause to have constructed accessory building for storage of all business-related equipment by September
September 1st, 2021.
September 1st, 2021. Okay. Everybody understand the motion? Is there any discussion? Roll call vote of members present. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Bukowski.
Yes.
Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex Demaro.
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Tom Dials.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 9-0. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item on March 3rd at 9 a.m. at the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Any person wishing to be present for this meeting needs to call the Board of County Commissioners office to be put on the attendance list for that meeting. Any person wishing to file a protest petition must contact the Planning and Zoning Office. Protest petitions must be filed with Leavenworth County within 2 weeks of this meeting. To be valid, the protest petitions must be signed by owners of 20% of the land area in the notification area. Good luck to you, sir. March 3rd. And the next item is case number DEV 20-159. Consideration of application for a special use permit for a bread and breakfast located on a tract of land in the southeast quarter of Section 18, Township 9 South, Range 22 East at the 6 p.m. in Leavenworth County, Kansas. Request submitted by Douglas and Kendra DeLashmute. I hope I said that right. Also known as 18131 Eisenhower Road. Requires a public hearing. Public comment is limited 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Before us, we have case number DEV 20-159. The applicants in this case are requesting a special use permit to operate a bed and breakfast. The applicants have finished a portion of the accessory building that is across from their home on their lot, installing 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom and a living room area. The applicants anticipate an average of 4 guests at a time between the 2 bedrooms on average. They expect guests to generally be couples and small families arriving in 1 to 2 vehicles, so a small traffic impact. They hope to generate 10 overnight stays per month on average. The applicants have ample parking and well-maintained facilities. Given the minimal anticipated impact, staff recommends approval of this special use permit. The applicants are here and will answer any questions, as will we.
Okay. Any questions of staff? Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against This item, upon recognition, will give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. Will the applicant please come forward?
Let the pretty one speak. No, I'm kidding. Doug DeLashma, 18131 Eisenhower Road.
Kendra DeLashmet, 18131 Eisenhower Road, Leavenworth.
Okay. Did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. Did you see there's 9 staff requirements to your special use permit? Have
Yes.
you had a chance to review all of them?
Yes.
Do you have any questions? Okay. Any questions of the applicants?
What is the outdoor activities that the time frames? Is the time frames all good?
As far as the outdoor activities, we have a couple already. We have, we sit on 13 acres, a little bit over 13 acres, and we have cleared paths that we use just for our family, so people can, explore outside. We also have a fire pit. Those are existing now, and we also have like outdoor games, cornhole, ring toss,
Fun
things
stuff.
like that. Yeah. Eventually, what we would like to do is maybe add maybe a 3-basket disc golf course, just something that's on the trails, wouldn't be visible from the road, would only be visible if you're on our acreage. And then we also have, we've done for our family, a little scavenger hunt where we could do things in trees. And we thought it would be fun for families with small kids to go out and, engage in the scavenger hunt and see what they can find, because it's pretty hard. I can't even do it. So,
Cool.
Stuff like that.
Any other questions? The applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone present wishing to speak in favor of this request? In favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? This request in opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir.
The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any comments or questions, commissioners, or I will entertain a motion?
I just have one question on what Alex was bringing up with the outdoor activities. I know in some of these in the past we have, of course, they were talking about outdoor activities of concerts and the like, but you don't see any reason to put hours of operations as far as that the outdoor activities go. Just okay.
As long as they remain what they have been proposed in the
Right.
narrative, then no, I don't think so. If that concerts or something like that
Right.
were proposed in the future, then we
Yeah, I'm just looking for consistency and what we've done with some of the other ones, but I know this is very low impact and that type of thing. But
Given the size of the use and the fact that the owners of the property will be right next to the,
right.
I assume that staff
So you
expects it to be
looked
there.
at it and decided it wasn't necessary.
And it's just like having another home on the property,
Right.
actually, and they're going to be doing the same thing that any homeowner could do.
I'm just,
Yeah.
all I'm bringing up is that we've always put those limitations, or quite often, on other event barns.
Bed and breakfast is a little different than an event center.
Right.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Well, I entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that DEV 20-159 be approved with the conditions outlined by staff recommendations 1 through 9.
Okay. You seconded? Oh. Have a motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEV 20-159, special use permit for bread and breakfast, with staff recommendations. Is there any further discussion? Is that motion going to be sufficient?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, I just want to make sure. Any further discussion on this? Have a roll call vote. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Bukowski.
Yes.
Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex Tomorrow.
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Tom Dials.
Yes.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 9-0. Board of Counties Commissioners were considered this item on March 3rd at 9 a.m. in the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Any person wishing to be present for this meeting needs to call the Board of County Commissioner office to be put on the attendance list. Any person wishing to file a protest petition must contact the Planning and Zoning Office. Protest petitions must be filed with Leavenworth County within 2 weeks of this meeting. To be valid, the protest petitions must be signed by notice of 20% the land area in the notification area. And the motion carried. It was 9-0. March 3rd. Dear, good luck to you. Case number DEV 21-002. Consideration application for a special use permit for electrical substation for Free State Electrical Solar Farm on a tract of land located in the southeast quarter of Section 26, Township 10 South, Range 2 east of the 6 p.m. in Leavenworth County, Kansas. Request submitted by Free State Electric Cooperative, also known as 181, is that correct? 18131 Eisenhower Road?
No.
Not correct. This is
I
on Tom
didn't
Knox
think so.
Drive.
It does require public hearing.
Don't
Public
actually-
comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Mr. Chairman, this is case number DEV 21-002. This is a special use permit for a solar farm for Free State Electric. This is located on Tonganoxie Drive. As you correctly stated, it is located directly next to an existing substation which has a lifetime special use permit. The applicants are proposing to build a solar field that will generate approximately 1 megawatt of solar energy per year, which is a lot apparently, I have learned. Staff does not believe this will have any detrimental effects to the nearby property. Staff did raise concerns regarding runoff from the solar panels. However, the applicants produced a drainage study that indicated there would be no measurable impact, so that was accepted by our engineering firm. Given the nature of this use, staff is recommending a lifetime special use permit to go along with the property that also has a lifetime special use permit. Staff recommends approval of this. The applicant is here and will answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. You want to put up the requirements? Any questions of staff?
I don't know if it's a legitimate concern. It might sound kind of silly, but that road already is kind of dangerous. Do those things reflect?
I don't think that's a silly question at all. I think that's actually a really great question for Mr. Wiley to answer.
We'll have the applicant up here in a little bit, and we can ask him.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions of staff before we move on? Okay. Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. Will the applicant please come forward? I think you're there.
Yes, I was a little early on you. Eric Wiley, I'm the engineering manager for Free State Electric Cooperative, 816 Church Street, Tonganoxie, Kansas.
Okay. You heard the comment. Did you hear the comment about the question about
the reflection?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, do they reflect off the sunlight basically like a mirror would or something?
Well, they're not like a mirror. I'm not going to say that there's no reflection, but in the general design of the solar panel, the idea is to absorb as much of the sunlight as you can, to generate as much energy as you can.
Yeah, correct.
So they are designed to minimize that reflection, but it's nowhere near like a mirror.
Would they be moving from to follow that sun?
Yes, sir.
So facing the street and stuff? Or?
I can't recall the angle off the top of my head, but yes, sir, it is a one-axis tracking system. It will track the sun from east to west throughout the day. At the end of the day, it will reset to flat. In the morning time, it will rotate facing toward the east. Yes, sir.
Interesting. Okay.
And the road is to the east, correct?
The road is
Yes.
located to the east of the system, yes, sir.
Well, any reflection you get off it wouldn't go towards the road, it'd go off an angle of the panel, wouldn't it?
Well, most of it, that is correct, yes, sir.
It would go up and not straight out. All right, do you have anything to add?
I don't think so. I
You
think
see the 5 requirements that are up on there?
I do, yes, sir.
Everything okay with you in there?
We were both reviewed, and I believe we're okay with everything in there, yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant?
I'd like to know if Crystal could put up the layout as far as where the lot sets. I mean, I'm familiar where it is. I go by it all the time, but there's something I want to see on it. Okay.
Is this what you were asking?
Yeah,
for?
that's
Okay.
exactly. Thank you.
Did you have something to address?
No, my only thing I wanted to address was the reflection because of the road frontage, but other than that,
Yeah.
no. And that's a substation to the south?
That is correct.
Yeah.
yes, sir.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Nice. Any other
That's it.
questions of the applicant? Thank you, sir. Does anyone present wishing to speak in favor of this request? In favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this request? In opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir.
The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? Or I will entertain a motion.
I don't think I can recall a solar panel, but I know like on towers, things like that, we would require some type of bond in the past in case, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but just in case this thing goes belly up in 5 years and we have that money sitting there to where we can deconstruct. Is that applicable in this case? Or?
Commissioner Denny, members of the commission, that is a very germane issue, and I apologize for not bringing it myself earlier. For cell towers, we require what I call a removal bond. That is, in the event that the facility is decommissioned, that it just doesn't remain and just remain. A suitable condition might be the posting of a bond deemed sufficient by the county, and that would be based upon the engineering removal costs supplied by Free State in the event the facility were inoperative for a period of, and you could put 5 years or whatever. I'm not sure. The solar power industry is rather new, so I can't tell you how long a solar plant could be decommissioned and then recommissioned back into use. But Commissioner Denny, I think that's a good point. And we could craft, I think for this purpose, a condition could be worded as sufficient bond posted acceptable to the county for the removal of the facilities upon decommissioning.
Sir, come up. We can't hear you.
Okay.
Let's get it on record, too, please.
So there's not a bond per se, but our agreement was with Today's Power, and as part of our agreement, if this ever ceases to becoming a solar field, the land has to be returned back to its current state.
Do you mind sharing the time frame for that?
I believe they have up to a year at most. I'd have to review that agreement to make sure, but it is part of the agreement.
You don't think it's 20 years, you think 1 year?
It is no more than 1 year, I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
It may be 6 months, but it is
Okay.
no more than 1 year. That was one of our concerns as well.
Okay.
Didn't quite hear. Who's that with?
Today's Power at Little Rock, Arkansas?
That's the ones who are supplying the,
That is correct, yes.
okay. Should we make that document part of our requirements to have that on file?
Mr. Chairman, this is a pretty new field for all of us. I would suggest it does not need to be specifically spelled out. In the event that that field would be decommissioned or become a nuisance, the county could initiate an action under the nuisance statutes of the state of Kansas to remedy the situation or initiate action to revoke the special use permit, regardless of the fact that it's deemed perpetual or not. I think the information provided is that Free State wants it to remain active, as does the other utility involved, and a 1-year period is shorter than we have for cell towers.
Yeah, right. So you feel that we do not have to add anything into our conditions, or?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission, I think if it were to become a problem or a very germane issue raised by Commissioner DeMauro, if the reflection became a nuisance, that can be addressed if either through negotiations and worst case scenario, I think actions in court. But I think there are adequate protections to the public.
I have a question since you're here. How tall are these units? Because we're not talking cell towers here.
Right. The base of them is approximately 6 feet high, and then you add about another 2 feet when they're 6 to 8 feet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions about the applicant while we got him up here? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
We approve case DEV 21-002, Free State Electric Solar Farm, based on the staff recommendations and testimony we've heard.
Second. Motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEV 21-002, special use permit for electrical substation for Free State Electric Solar Farm. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. John Matthews.
Yes.
Terry Bukowski.
Yes.
Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alex DeMauro.
Yes.
Will Smith.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Tom Dial.
Yes, sir.
Jeff Spink.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 9-0. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item on March 3rd at 9 a.m. in the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Any person wishing to be present for this meeting needs to call the Board of County Commissioner office to be put on the attendance list. Any person wishing to file a protest petition must contact the Planning and Zoning Office. Protest petitions must be filed with Leavenworth County within 2 weeks of this meeting. To be valid, the protest petitions must be signed by owners 20% of the land area notification area. Good luck to you, and on March 3rd. And case number DEV 20-149, rezone. Consideration application rezoning a request for RR5 zoning district to RR 2.5 zoning district on a tract of land located in the northeast quarter of Section 4, Township 10, South Range 22 east of the 6 p.m. in Leavenworth County, Kansas, also known as 16421 McIntyre Road. The request submitted by Hearing Survey does require a public hearing. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Before us, we have case number DEV 20-149. This is a rezone. The applicants in this case are seeking to rezone this parcel in order to ultimately perform a tract split to separate their home, which is on 2.5 acres, from the remaining 40 acres of agricultural land. As stated, they own approximately 42.8 acres, meaning if they wanted to split off their home under the current zoning, they'd have to capture some of that agricultural land. At least I believe that's the intent of this rezone. This parcel is within the residential land use category of the future land use map, which would allow for up to 3 units per acre. So their proposal is for a less intense zoning district. Staff is supportive of this request due to the absence of sanitary sewer connection in the area, which would be required for 3 units per acre. The applicants are here and will answer any questions, as will we.
The house is on, was a strange shaped track already, so I think any improvement's going to help, couldn't hurt it. The house is on the eastern section there, and how far back will that go if it's 2.5 acres? I mean, they can make it bigger than that, I know. Are they planning on just kind of even that out, or?
I think it would be closer to a square shape than it would be to, taking up that whole little arm there.
Take that whole
if you follow.
part there. I guess maybe the applicant probably could a little more information. Any questions of staff?
It's not clear to me, John and I were talking about this, it's not clear, is this an attempt to chop this up into 2.5 acre lots or what?
No.
Well, there has been some comments raised by the public due to concerns with, once this is 2.5 acres, they could theoretically put in a subdivision with 2.5 acre lots and perhaps an internal road or something, which is, from what I understand from the public comments, more intense development than they would like to see, if that's what you're referring to.
Is that even possible with that?
I wouldn't think it would be,
does not
because
look
the road you'd have
possible
to put in
I don't think
would be so expensive for what you're going to get out of it. I would think that
Yeah, a road would
it
be.
wouldn't be near feasible to ever develop that. I wouldn't think, unless more ground was added to it, maybe. But
So an interior roadway would certainly be required. As with any rezoning, it's important that we consider the uses that come along with that. And the fact of the matter is, if this 40-acre parcel is rezoned to 2.5 acres, theoretically they could build an internal roadway. It is my understanding, and the applicant is here, that that is not the intention of this. It is simply to split off the house. I believe they're selling the house to a nephew or a family member, and they want to keep as much of the farm ground with the farm as they possibly can. However, it does open the possibility to further divide this property into 2.5 acre lots.
It'd have to be platted and approved first.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
And the only access to the lot right now is from the north side.
Correct.
So how many acres are actually involved in this?
It's like 42.8 or
40?
42.
a little over.
It's what's outlined there.
Yeah, it didn't tell me how many acres.
Well, no.
What's this slot
I guess
for?
you're right.
42.8.
That slot in the middle, is that not part of the property?
No, was that a relative of his, or I thought it was the same name? Yeah, I think it's the same name on owner.
I'm not
Last
sure.
name, same last name, not
I'm
the
not
same
sure.
first name. Yeah. All right, any other questions of staff? Okay. Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will be given name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded, and remember, you're limited to 3 minutes per person. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open. Will the applicant please come forward?
Beth McCall. My address is 16459 McIntyre.
Ma'am, you're going to have to speak up. I can't hear a word you're saying.
On.
Take your mask off.
It's on.
Okay,
I'll just use this way.
okay.
It's Beth McCall, 16459 McIntyre. I know that looks very confusing up there. The house, the barn, and the shop are in the top right-hand corner of that lovely tuning fork that we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
That's what I call it.
The original acreage we were left by my husband's parents was all of the blue stuff, including the center section. David's dad originally bought the farm in 46, 160 acres. And at one time he split off 10 acres for us to build a house at the bottom of the screen, which you don't see there, but there's 10 acres split off down there. And then David's brother wanted some acreage, and it was that other square to the left of the blue. You can see that we're a little, anyway. And the center blue is our son. Okay. We wanted to leave the farm as much to family as possible because that's what David's dad wanted. And so consequently, we've been dividing it up by law throughout the years since 46. And right now, we are living with our son. We had some medical problems, so we moved out of our house, moved in with our son there in the middle section. And we have a nephew that would like to buy part of that acreage on the right side. We would have loved to have given him or sold him 5 acres like the law requires right now. But there's a problem with the back acreage there, you see. There's something about, I don't quite understand it. Joe understands it. I don't. About the frontage line and a percentage or something about the back end has to be 60%.
Can't be so deep. It has to be.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yep.
No piano.
We would,
Yeah.
but then if we sell them 5 acres, then we don't qualify for some other thing. I don't quite understand it, but we're just trying to keep the family farm together. We have no reason to split. We're not ever going to split it into 2.5 acres. We're not going to put a road in. That funky thing on the left-hand side, the other side of the tuning fork, was suggested by one of the, I think it was David's mother, that should be allowed there in case we wanted a subdivision back there, it would allow for a road. That's what I remember that happened in that division. But we have no desire to put in a subdivision. In fact, we're the last original people on that road. And the property across from us, the entire section across from us, was owned by the Starnes brothers. And as soon as all of them died and they had no children at all, it started getting divided into pieces. And we were very dismayed because we're both country folks and we wanted to be in the country our entire lives. And we're watching our whole area out there turn into subdivisions. We don't want ours to be a subdivision. Our son, who has the middle part, will inherit the rest.
Ma'am?
Yes?
You said you didn't really want to divide it into 2.5 acres.
I would rather, in fact, my nephew would rather have 5.
Okay.
He would like to even have more later, and eventually David and I will, get rid of the rest of it. We just have to discuss with the family first.
But if you don't want to divide it in 2.5 acres, and the regular zoning right now is 5 acres.
Right.
Why do you want to go through the rezone if you're not going to do anything with the outcome of that potential rezoning?
Because it's simpler for her probably to go with the 2.5 because of the depth to width ratio that they have to have.
Not be non-conforming. How much road frontage is that part there?
Remember,
We'll have to go pull it up.
Unless
Joe, do you know?
You're part of this anyway. Go ahead.
Joe Herring, Surveying, 315 North 5th. I believe the right, each side is just over 200 feet.
Yeah.
So it's total of, had to be over 300 when we took the middle out for Mickey's track in the middle.
Yeah.
The reason for the rezone is they have 43 acres with road right away. They have to keep their remaining tract at 40 acres, so it's exempt from the width to depth ratio and still in compliance with the county. So they're at a maximum, they're only allowed to sell up to 3 acres and still keep a 40-acre farm. Otherwise, we have to go through a BZA and go that route, which is also a challenge in the process. They have the ability to rezone with our new comp plan. It was my suggestion to go through the rezone, keep the 40 acre as a farm to the west, go as small as or as large as possible, which is up to 3 acres for the nephew, and sell that off to a tract split instead of platting the whole 43 acres into a irregular shaped subdivision lot.
On 2.5 acre tracts, you could hardly even develop that.
That leftover piece is going to be very hard to develop in the future without another tract getting involved,
Right.
other neighbors wanting to bring a road in or something to that effect. That is not their intent. Their intent is to keep that 40 acres farmable ground and to protect as much of the farm ground as possible. And
Because if you only got 200 feet of road frontage already, you put a road in there, there won't be much left to have a house on.
correct. Realistically, it'd be nice to leave the 40 acres out of the rezone, but to meet the minimum standards of road frontage, 5 acres is 300 feet, 2.5 acres is 200 feet, so we have to go to 2.5 acres
Right.
to meet the width. So it just, I know rezones have gotten a negative representation on social media right now, but this is not what everybody was representing is happening. This is a sell off one house, keep the rest as a farm and protect it as agriculture.
Okay. All right, any other questions of the applicant?
Crystal, just as I look at the north side of McIntyre Road, if you're looking to the west there are 3 lots on the north. I'm assuming those outlined in black are lots. They're about the same size as this right section. How did those?
Right here?
Yeah. What are those? Are those 5 acres?
Those look like they're 10 acres. I don't know. They might be 5.
I'm just saying. I mean, is there a simple way to get an exception to policy
So,
and not go through this nut roll of trying to
Commissioners,
make this all work?
sure. So, really, unfortunately, this is a case. My office deals with this on a fairly regular basis, where property owners who have owned property for generations and they split it off and they, give it to a family member, which is completely understandable, and certainly I don't
Yep.
begrudge anyone that. However, it wasn't done thoughtfully, and that's primarily because they just didn't know. I mean, taking that 10 acres out in the middle of this to give to the son was not a wise use of this land, right? It should have been done on one side or the other. But for whatever reason, it wasn't, and we can't go back and undo that. Staff tries to not go against policy whenever we can. Commissioner, I certainly hear you, and this seems like perhaps a complicated way to get to where they want to be. You would, according to what Joe has said, if they were to divide this a 5 acre and then the 38 acres or so that would be left over, you would be grossly exceeding the width to depth ratio by, I would say, 600 or 700 feet, which is, again, that's a pretty gross exaggeration of the existing policy. I don't know for certain that staff, I don't want to say we would be supportive of it or we wouldn't. This is the first I've heard about it. So I don't want to make any sort of recommendation one way or the other. Unfortunately, this is just a piece of land that's been...
Yeah. I understand. I'm just new. Hear
unusually
me.
chopped up.
I'm sitting here looking with my Mark 1 calibrated eyeball, and there are 3 lots on the north side that look almost exactly the same. And I'm wondering, how did they get there?
And they may have been here for longer.
Yeah.
Certainly longer than me.
Yeah. But it's really trying to correct a bad situation, and this is probably the most simplest and best way to do it this time, even though it's going to leave some more landlocked land.
Well, may I say something, please?
Sure.
The left side of the tuning fork and the bottom of the tuning fork will all be left to our son, and that will correct that left funky side there.
Oh, so that'll merge all together at one time.
Yes. And my nephew would like to have more acreage anyway, down south, to that little bent thing there.
Yeah.
However you did that. Well, Joe did the original split, but we're not going to talk about that.
We have to talk to Joe.
It's hard. It's hard because
huh?
it was hard to do with a family. You know how it is with family. But in any case. So all of that will be corrected eventually. If my nephew could afford to get more acreage, down all the way to the bottom, he would, because they will have a horse and maybe 2 or 3 horses. And David's sister owns to the east, and they're getting up in years too, and but they don't want it to sell it just to anybody. So we're planning ahead to continue to have some open area. Because right now, like I said, we are surrounded by small acreages and subdivisions. I mean, our road finally got paved this year. Back in the old days, we'd be lucky if we saw 3 cars on that road in one day. And now it's like a main thoroughfare.
To Mr. Dial's point on those other 3 lots, the width to depth ratio is a relatively new requirement.
Yeah.
I would say in the, 10 years, Steve,
No,
probably?
six.
Probably.
So I'm sure that those lots, when they were platted like that, it was totally legal to do it that way.
Yeah, I would assume.
Plants at the time.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant?
Hey, Commissioner? The middle track, we did discuss a boundary line adjustment also to consume the middle track with the rest of the farm. But that middle track that's already cut out is a platted subdivision. So it would have been a replat and much more work consumption in there to have to end up with a plat that's 50 acres left over in the subdivision plat at that time. So we opted not to go through a replat along that boundary line. So
Would have made it more developable.
it would have made it more developable, and probably would have opened up the door for a future subdivision. But this is not what the family wanted. They don't want to see a subdivision there, and this kind of keeps it to not go that way.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other questions of the applicant?
How is that middle section? Is it platted?
When it was allowed, I can't remember how many years ago, had to be within the last 20 years. 2006, one-lot subdivisions were allowed within our county. And there were several one-lot subdivisions just platted out of the middle of the farm.
Yeah.
And this happens to be one of them.
Yeah. Is there a house on that?
Yes.
Could that be developed?
So one lot, no, it doesn't have enough road frontage to be split and developed into future tracks.
Ma'am, can you have any idea why there are 25 people opposed to this?
I don't think they really understood what was going on. They kept thinking, at least the phone calls that I got, they kept thinking that we were going to just change it all into a subdivision. What was ironic is some of the people that signed it were in a subdivision. I mean, we've got subdivision to the west that have 5-acre lots and one north, 2-acre lots, and the Lamberts just developed their whole corner up there with their stuff, and I mean, it's just like these people sometimes. And I don't blame them for wanting to live in the country. I don't blame them for wanting to live in the country, but it's getting where it's not the country.
Yeah, that's true.
And all of a sudden, they're feeling a crunch because there's more people coming.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. We'll now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in favor of this request. In favor, remember you're limited to 3 minutes per person. Now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in opposition to this request. In opposition, again, you remember your list, 3 minutes per person.
Mr. Chairman.
Please state your name and address, please.
Peter John Barrett, 16637 McIntyre Road, directly due west to the highlighted blue that you see up there. I own 52 acres. They did break up. A brother did own that in 2010 and could not break it up any smaller than 12 acres and an additional 40, which you see up there right now. He got chastised by this commission for trying to do it. He actually wanted to sell 12 or 20 or the whole thing at once, but was stopped because of the irregular track, not enough road frontage, and whatnot all. I'm here in opposition today because I obviously have some doubts about my neighbor's intentions. I understand what they are trying to do is to sell off, make a little money, and retire out and try to hold together their family land. I don't begrudge them for that at all. What I am concerned with and what I know is going to happen, if you look at that map, right in the middle of that map is their son's property. And that son, at any time, once he gains control of, God forbid, I don't wish anything on my neighbors, they pass, and now he's got all that acreage. What kind of lot does that make at that point? Is it irregular? Does he pay for it? Can he pay for it? These are all great questions that I'd like to know. Because I know for a fact that some of the things that she talked about here, she has said, their family has said to me that they don't want to build a neighborhood. And they said this was a mess. This is their exact words. This is a mess. That is a mess. They created this. They sold this to their son. They did this. Whether it should have been to the left or the right, whatever, they did this. Their intent, whether they like it or not, can go south. I don't have confidence that the son is able or capable financially to take care of business out there, to do what needs to be done. The law requires 5 acres. We're held to that standard, so they should be too. Road traffic. I got to be honest. We've lost a dog when it was still gravel. We saw a cat get crushed, and my mailbox got crushed just last week. The guy actually went into the ditch, came through, crushed my mailbox. We know it's fast out there. If you start developing this, if you cut this off and allow, let me finish my statement. May I please finish my statement?
Yeah, just say.
Thank you, sir. If we allow this breakdown, I don't think it's going to stop there. If you look to the east, Maryland lives, their sister lives to the east, and that whole 161st Street runs down through there, which mitigates all frontage requirements. And why Joe Herring's here? I got a good feeling why I know he's here. Because that, to me, is where they're going to go next.
Sir, you're going a little far now.
Okay. No. Okay. I don't think I'm proud of what I've done. I've done everything I possibly can to be a good citizen, and I appreciate you guys hearing me out.
Okay.
And thank you for your consideration.
Sir, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this request? In opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir.
The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any questions or comments, commissioners? Or I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, do I understand correctly? They want to get rezoned to 2.5 acres, but because of the lay of the land, building a road to access those particular parcels, would be cost prohibitive. So therefore, nothing would be accomplished.
I won't ever say it just wouldn't make. It wouldn't make sense to do it as the shape it is right now. Put it this way, and do remember our comp plan shows it 3 units per acre. So if they could get sewers there, they could put in a small lot subdivision in there. So this is really above that. It's just an area that's growing. And it's going to keep growing. And someday there probably will be sewers out there to where there will be small lot subdivisions. But I think that's a little ways off.
I have another question. With the son here, if he bought or inherited all this land, could these boundaries be changed so that would be just one piece? Which would give them the frontage, and then they could put a road in on one side and run it to the back?
Yeah. I'll let you speak on it.
Commissioner, yes, that's certainly a possibility in the future. It's a possibility today. That being said, as Mr. Herring stated, that would have to be replatted because that central lot there is a platted lot, and the only way you can change the boundaries of a platted lot is to replat it. which is my understanding part of the reason that they did not want to go forward with the plating situation currently. Certainly anything in the future is possible, Commissioner.
Oh, possible.
As of right now, it's near impossible.
I still think it's going to be hardly worth it at this point in time to put a road in there that they'd have to put in and bring all the utilities in for the amount of lots they would get out of that. I just don't see that probably happening, but I can't say that for sure. Any other questions or comments, Commissioners? Or I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I move that the proposed rezoning as outlined in case DEV 20-149 be approved, that the findings on the golden factors are set forth in staff report as adopted by the Planning Commission and substantiated by the facts, testimony, and evidence presented be adopted by this board, and that the conditions set forth in the staff report be made part of this rezoning.
One question for you. Was there any staff recommendations on this one? I don't recall seeing those.
Typically on rezonings, Commissioner, we do not put recommendations or conditions.
Okay.
Well, their only recommendation was that the staff approval of the case. So it's covered twice.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEV 20-149, rezoning request from RR5 zoning district to RR 2.5 zoning district. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote. John Matthews.
No,
And your reasoning?
I just can't make sense how being able to improve anything by changing the acreage from 5 to 2.5 if they can't, if it's basically unaffordable to develop it in any sense of the word.
Okay. Terry Bukowski.
Yes.
Yes. Mark Danny.
Yes.
Alex DeMauro.
Yes.
Wolf Smith.
Yes.
Rocky Hempel.
Yes.
Tom Dials.
No.
No.
Similar
Any reasoning?
reasons, John, there ought to be a simpler way to do this that satisfies the neighbors.
Okay. Jeff Spink.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 7-2. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item on March 3rd, 9 a.m. in the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Anyone wishing to attend the Board of County Commissioners meeting will contact Executive Secretary at the Board of County Commission, as space is limited. Any person wishing to file a protest petition must contact the Planning and Zoning Office. Protest petitions must be filed with Leavenworth County within 2 weeks of this meeting. To be valid, the protest petitions must be signed by owners of the 20% of the land area notification area. And am I correct in assuming that the petition here is not going to be legal because it was done before the meeting?
Correct.
It has to be done after the meeting?
Yes, anyone wishing to file a protest petition must use the county issued form and needs to follow the instructions very closely on the protest petition.
Okay, March 3rd is where the Board of County Commissioners will consider it. Anybody's welcome to attend, but you need to contact the Executive Secretary because just like our meetings, they're being limited. Is there anything else?
I have one question on the protest petition, Crystal. It used to be when we had a three-commission board, all three had to vote in the affirmative or whichever way for it to pass. Now that it's 5, what's the ruling on it? It's 4 out of the 5?
4 affirmative votes.
Okay.
That issue came up today. On not this one, but
Right.
that kind of a vote.
I assumed it was 4, but I didn't know for sure.
3/4 requirement.
Okay, anything else?
Sir?
We're done.